Hello, I'm Yonatan, your host for RocketTalk, a Project Essence production. Project Essence consists of over 20 members from all around the globe.
Not Flat Earth.
Not Flat Earth.
While we have not much in common with each other, we share a common love of science and space exploration. I'm joined by Byong.
Hello.
Peter.
Hey.
And Bartek.
Hello there.
We are producing this series alongside Occupy Duna, a Kerbal space program fan-made fiction, which we would be obliged if you could check it out. The link is in the description below.
Okay, so our first piece of news for today is PSLV C44, the launch of the PSLV missile, the Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle.
Wait.
From
Missile?
India.
You just said missile, mate.
It is a missile! It is a missile!
It is a missile?
A rocket is a missile!
Is India invading Pakistan now?
No, they're not invading Pakistan. Oh, God.
I mean,
No.
I don't think
Okay,
people
we
will be
don't have to
pleased.
try and make bloopers. We already have more than enough for 20
I'm not trying to
episodes.
make bloopers,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make an entertaining podcast.
It is entertaining right now.
Okay.
I mean, at least for us.
Okay, so carry on with the PSLV.
Okay, so this specific launch, also known as Microsat-R, which was a military payload for India, it launched on January 24th, and there are a few special things in this launch. One, this rocket was the rocket and a special payload, which will be covered in a few seconds, was assembled in 44 days. This is like KSP short amount of time. Hence
In
the name
KSP,
C44.
you assemble a rocket in 44 seconds.
I know.
Yeah.
44 days or 44 seconds, those are the same. Rocket takes much longer to build. So, other special things. This rocket was the PSLV DL, which is a version using 2 solid rocket boosters instead of 0 or 6, which is the versions by now. This is the first launch of this version.
Are the two solid rocket boosters larger than the usual 6, or, you know?
I think it's the same type.
Okay.
So, also the upper stage tank for the 4th stage was replaced from titanium to aluminum, reducing the cost of this already very cheap launcher even further, which is amazing.
Like how cheap is
also,
it? Is like SpaceX Falcon 9 cheap or cheaper
I'm
than
not
that?
sure, but
I believe it is.
I think it's getting close. I think it's getting close. Also, so the special payload I mentioned earlier is actually a student-built satellite payload, which was built to test the use of the upper stage as a satellite bus for small experiments. And actually, after the launch, there was a briefing which was very inspiring, in which the heads of the ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization, reached out to all the students in India and said to them, if you have any experiments and things like that, bring it to us, we'll get it there, which is amazing. Also, they announced, I guess it was already announced, but I never heard of it before, a new small vehicle launcher named SSLV, I think, which is, I think, in payload capacity comparable to the Electron by Rocket Lab, and maybe also in cost, we'll see. And also they're working on a reusable launch vehicle.
I wonder how that's going to turn out.
And they announced about their Gaganyaan space capsule, which is crewed, which is supposed to be crewed, which already had a successful launch abort test. Pedabort, not
Paddleboard, okay.
They said that they are planning to launch humans, I believe humans, in 2021.
If not
Which is
humans,
very
then
soon.
what else would they launch? A monkey again?
An unmanned mission, I guess.
I'm just looking at pictures of the launch here, and the rocket's color scheme is very interesting. It's red and white. I like that.
Yeah,
I like the
in a
color
lot of
scheme.
their launchers, I like this. I really like their vehicles, and they're very KSP.
Yeah, it's just solid rocket
There's
boosters.
staging.
attached onto the what is it?
Solid rocket boosters.
The liquid rockets.
No. It's even the reverse. I mean, like the PSLV. The first stage is solid, which is accompanied by. It can be accompanied by a few solid rocket boosters, by strap-ons. The second stage is hypergolic.
Okay.
The third stage is again solid, and another fourth hypergolic stage, which is just funny.
Wait, the third stage is solid?
Yeah.
Wow, I never seen a rocket like that. I mean, but
Yeah.
then again, I didn't hear of Indian Space Organization like until a week ago.
ISRO.
Yeah. Also, the GSLV Mark II. Its first stage is solid. It has solid core, and it has 4 liquid boosters, which burn for longer than the core itself, like 30 seconds longer.
By the way,
So it's very funny.
is there any other vehicle that was ever used? I'm not speaking about RS-1 that had a solid rocket booster as its main stage, like as its core.
As a core, there are a lot of fully solid vehicles.
One of them is Omega in production. It's supposed to be used.
Omega, yeah, but it isn't fully solid.
It isn't?
I guess neither is the PSLV, but it uses the center upper stage after 2 solid stages, 2 or 3 maybe.
And how far is it gonna go? Like how high is it gonna go in altitude?
The Gagarin space capsule?
Yeah.
I guess low Earth orbit, maybe medium. I don't see a reason to go to medium Earth orbit.
I mean, will it be orbital or suborbital? Suborbital.
It will be orbital. Maybe they'll have a suborbital test flight before, but it is orbital.
And what is the potential for the PSLV? Is like the potential altitude?
The PSLV launched a mission to Mars one time, though it didn't do the trans-Mars injection itself. It launched the spacecraft into, I think, medium Earth orbit, from which it had a few burns to get itself to Mars. But the Gagarin space capsule isn't using the PSLV, it's using the GSLV Mark III. GSLV is acronym for Geostationary Launch Vehicle. It's bigger. The GSLV Mark III is the biggest launch vehicle of ISRO. It's a bit similar to the Titan C3 or the Titan 4, which by that I mean it uses 2 giant boosters to lift off the pad. Then mid-air it lights its main engines prior to booster separation. But it does have a cryogenic upper stage.
I mean it's bigger because it needs to get to higher orbit for geostationary, right?
Yeah, it has quite a large payload capacity. Let me check its payload capacity.
Yeah, I'm not certain about this, but I'm quite sure that GTO I think it takes more fuel to go into a geostationary orbit than it does to fly by the moon.
Yeah,
because you
even
have
to
to
insert into lunar orbit.
circularize.
Yeah, and the moon help you to circularize because you don't have to circularize into the moon's orbit, but into an orbit around the moon. So you can still have the orbital velocity around the moon, which you don't need to cancel out.
Right.
But reminder, this vehicle isn't launching you to geostationary orbit, it's launching you into GTO, which is less than the moon.
What does GTO mean?
It's a transfer orbit. GTO stands for Geostationary Transfer Orbit.
Okay.
It means that your perigee, the lowest point in your orbit, for the views, is still in low Earth orbit or medium, like most of the times less than 500 kilometers. And your apogee, the highest point in your orbit, is at geostationary orbit.
Gotcha.
The idea is that the payload has its own fuel on board to circularize the orbit.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right. Another news topic that has been trending recently is Starhopper. Actually,
Oh.
a test bed design built by SpaceX to test the technologies in which they will use for their Starship and Super Heavy combo. There's been a lot of news in the recent month. Everything from its birth within a tent and its falling over. Apparently, it has fell over.
Yeah, the wind blowed it.
Yeah, the wind blew it
50
over.
miles per hour wind blew the top of the rocket, which was separated from the bottom of the rocket at the time, over, and it is now crumpled on the ground.
I think they now started closing the tent. I guess out of embarrassment, maybe they're going to try and repair the upper portion, but they did reinstall the bulkhead into the lower portion.
Yeah, and for non-Americans out there, 50 miles per hour is about 80 kilometers per hour.
Yeah.
Thank you, Byong.
Yeah.
But I've noticed that neither SpaceX nor Elon Musk really mentioned it anywhere on Twitter, for example.
He actually did once. He mentioned that after somebody talked about the rocket falling over and asked about whether or not Starhopper's first flight will be delayed. He said it would take a couple of weeks to repair the nose cone, as well as install the fuel tanks and the engines into the bottom of the rocket.
But the engines were already supposed to be replaced. The ones there were there before that, there was placeholders because they changed the design of the Raptor again.
Right, for the 30th time.
Yeah, but a few days ago, they released. 1 day ago, Elon released a picture of the new Raptor. They said they're preparing to fire the engine.
It was actually
So
yesterday.
clarification. Yeah, yesterday. So clarification, they're not going to do a hop in the near time. That's going to take a few months. But they are going to fire the engine itself
The engine burn
to test it. Yeah. The first time with the new design of the Raptor, which is an amazing engine.
Mm-hmm. Just for
and
those
if
who
you
don't
want to know,
it's going to have 2 tons of thrust, 2 tons of thrust capability for the first stage variant.
Not 2 tons.
Along with
the upper stage variant is currently the same.
It's much more
except
than
it will
2 tons.
have
Yeah, but they did say they want in later versions a better. They are planning a better sea level engine for the booster, and a vacuum version which will be some of the engines of the Starship portion to get it an ISP of 380 seconds, which is a lot.
Basically, there's only one other rocket vacuum optimized engine out there. I think it's the RSD 25? No, that's the Space Shuttle main engine. But RL10. The RL10
is amazing.
engine,
No, RL10 has way more
engine.
than.
Where is it used?
Yeah, I don't
that
think.
engine.
RL10 is used in a lot of American rockets, on the Delta, on the
Delta
Atlas,
4,
on Titan.
Delta 4 Heavy.
On the Titan also. The Delta 4 is special because it uses an extending nozzle design.
Which buffs the ISP or the efficiency of the rocket.
Yes.
The thing is that even Raptor vacuum engine can't compete with RL10 because RL10 uses hydrolox, liquid hydrogen or liquid oxygen, which is the most efficient rocket fuel. I mean, there are a few that are more efficient, but this is the most efficient. Okay, no, it's more efficient than methane.
More efficient than
which is the one
oxygen or methalox.
Yeah, methalox, which is the one used by the Raptor.
There's
the Raptor is actually the first rocket to use methalox, other than another company.
B4 by Blue Origin, which is also amazing. The B4 is a bit stronger than the Raptor,
but it's so much bigger.
Yeah, it's so much bigger, and it's going to the new Glenn is going to use 7 of those for the first stage.
Just to quickly explain a couple of things. The BE4 is the main rocket engine used which is in development by Blue Origin, a aerospace company created by Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon, the creator of Amazon, and the BE4 is the competitor to Raptor because they both are supposed to use Metalox.
I'm not sure they are competitors, but the thing is, the BE4, United Launch Alliance bought it from Blue Origin to use it on their Vulcan rocket, which is a nice rocket.
Vulcan rocket is going to be the next generation of ULA rockets. It's a mix of Delta and I think
Atlas.
Atlas?
No, it's mostly Atlas. It's mostly
Atlas, right?
Wait,
and
so
it's going to.
How are they going to mix it? Like, I'm just lost here.
They're going to do 2 BE4 engines to power the thing, along with 6 solid rocket boosters. No,
up to 6. Up to 6.
Up to 6 solid rocket boosters, like any other Atlas.
It's up to 5, but those are small. The Atlas ones, I think, are much smaller.
Right.
Actually, with 6 boosters, the thrust of the Vulcan is going to be the same as the new Glenn, which uses 7 not Raptors, BE4s. And the Vulcan on the first versions, it will use a Centaur upper stage, which is I think maybe the oldest upper stage design.
I think it is.
No, I think that goes
2. Was it
the American oldest?
American oldest.
It will use. It is used now on the Atlas and on many other rockets. It was used, and on the Vulcan it will use 2 RL-10 engines instead of 1. And but then ULA wants to replace it with an amazing upper stage design. I don't remember the acronym, but it's supposed to be multi-missionary, and it will be able to function many times for a long time in orbit to deploy maybe multiple payloads, and do all sorts of things.
Interesting.
Also, the main engines of the Vulcan will be reusable.
So
they are going to ditch them, and they will fall on parachutes to the ground.
Right. Engines are one of the most expensive parts of any rocket.
They are the most expensive part, other than the payload itself.
Thank you for clarifying.
Other than the payload itself. Yeah, payloads are much more expensive than disposable rockets.
Right, because
not disposable anymore.
Yeah, as Yonatan mentioned earlier, ISRO's non-reusable PSLV and other rockets are nearing SpaceX's level of cost, as in the cost is descending steadily.
Yeah, and for clarification, SpaceX, I think many people think that the reason that SpaceX is so cheap is because of the reusability, but actually, while the reusability does cuts a lot of the cost, even without reusability, Falcon 9 is still the cheapest rocket in the market because of a few reasons. One, SpaceX is building everything on their own. They don't have any outside contractors. They build the engine themselves, the computers themselves, everything, every part of the rocket. And also, their engines are mass produced. They have 9 Merlins on the first stage, which is good for mass production, and they use 1 vacuum engine on the upper stage.
I believe that also one of the most important factors is that pretty much everything is built only few places. They don't have to move stuff around very much.
Yeah, this is also a very big cost saver.
Right, because
actually,
go ahead.
Design facilities are very close to manufacturing facilities. So there's a much better communication between guys that design the rockets and guys that make them. So
also they make I believe that SpaceX their communication and documentation methods are really efficient, because they said that they never flew this an identical rocket. They make changes with each rocket. They improve them from each launch and make the rockets better and better and better.
Until Block 5, of course.
No. Even without the blocks have a major changes.
Until Block 5.
They're patching it.
They're still improving the rocket. They're not making like block level improvements, but they are improving little stuff. They're tweaking stuff between each launch.
Like,
I think that
if you're thinking like a video game, it's like if the developers are just patching the changes in.
Yeah, like in KSP,
patch.
you have the blocks are like 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, and
basically
the tweaks,
how we make rockets in KSP.
Yeah, and the tweaks between you just improve with each launch. You see, you have this problem.
Except that they're doing it in real life.
And they don't kill little green people.
I actually think that they can't do any changes right now to the Block 5 anymore, because they
don't do major changes, but they do small tweaks. Small tweaks they do from each to each launch.
Yeah, but I'm talking about this thing about NASA not wanting them to do any changes to launch
that depends.
Dragon.
I think.
Because
the Dragon.
Right.
Yeah.
So and actually, bureaucracy is pretty strict on it.
So, So Byong, what was NS10 flight?
I have no idea actually. So why won't Peter? No, not Peter. He spoke too much. I don't like his voice too much. Why don't Bartek speak right now? Why don't Bartek explain?
I mean,
I don't know.
I know as much about it as you do. So.
Okay.
Let the science nerd with the terrible voice continue speaking.
Which of us?
It'll be Peter then.
Okay.
I hate your voice.
NES-10, or in other words, New Shepard Mission 10, was a mission by Blue Origin, previously mentioned, which reached up in which basically is a suborbital hop, where the capsule and the rocket reached the common line, but then came directly back down without going into orbit. The test was experiments on board the capsule were conducted in the zero-G environment. I do not know many of the specifics of these experiments, but I'm given to assume that they went without a hitch.
Yeah, some of those were provided by NASA.
Oh right, yeah, a few NASA payloads. Ooh. The main attraction to Blue Origin launches is that the New Shepard booster is, as the SpaceX Falcon 9, fully reusable. So the rocket, after detaching from the booster, lands back on the launch pad.
It's funny, you can actually say that it's more accurate to say that the Falcon 9 is like the New Shepard, because the New Shepard nailed a propulsive landing before Falcon 9.
A month before.
Right, it happened in the early months of 2015 when the first rocket landed back at the launch pad, and it took SpaceX another year to bring a Falcon 9 back to the launch pad or to a barge.
Actually, I think that SpaceX landed for the first time a month after Blue Origin. I might be wrong, but
maybe
a month.
I think it was a year and a month.
I mean, but weren't they landing like for experimentally?
You know what? In post edit, we'll add this. I don't think that Grasshopper counts. Oh no, it does count.
Grasshopper doesn't count.
Yeah,
because it doesn't cross the Kerbal line.
It went like a few kilometers.
5,000 meters.
5 kilometers, yeah.
Not 5 kilometers. I said few kilometers.
Okay, so the NS-10 was the last unmanned mission for now. This was the fourth flight of this booster, actually, and their next mission is supposed to be to carry humans. New Shepard. Yeah, New Shepard.
People flying humans everywhere.
Yeah, New Shepard is designed to carry passengers to just pass the Kerbal line, to give them a few minutes of 0G. It's really nice. So the next
supposedly
flight,
they have the biggest windows ever flown
into space
on the capsule.
Yeah. And
we're not talking about Virgin Galactic right now, are
no,
we?
Virgin Galactic
Blue Origin has the largest windows.
They even beat the cupola on ISS?
I don't know, but
Even
if
cupola.
they
I
do...
don't think the cupola counts because cupola is made up of several different...
Yeah, it's 7 windows. It's 7 windows.
7 windows.
But it is Windows, so they do beat cupola. That's true.
Okay,
Wouldn't they?
so that's amazing. Actually, so next week, coming up in space, except for our content, which is supposed to be released in 3 days and 4 hours from now, we are supposed, mainly suppose that space again, to have a launch of Ariane 5, launching a geostationary communication satellite for Saudi Arabia from Kourou in French Guiana. In February 7th, we might have a launch from Iran. This one won't be able... I don't think there is a stream. But tell us in the comments, guys, if you want us to stream the Ariane space launch. We might stream it if we get permission to do so.
Yeah,
Let's hope so.
That's the toughest part, but said easy.
So if we get good enough, reception from RocketTalk, hopefully we'll be able to supply more and more juicy information, as well as interviews and streams, etc.
Maybe guests
as the show grows more popular.
Which it will grow popular, won't it? I think I'm pretty optimistic right now.
And I feel just closing it out now.
Okay, so we've covered all we wanted to talk about. So we were RocketTalk from Project Essence. Have a great week.
Bye.